What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new edition of Holding Court here on the First State Hoops Report YouTube channel. I'm, of course, FSHR founding editor Chris Stevens. Hopefully, you all are doing well out there. And I wasn't sure how I was going to keep Holding Court going until, the summer league started, the AAU season started, which has started in earnest, but I need schedules. So if you guys have schedules, if you're a parent, if you're a coach, if you're a player, send it our way. FirstStateHoopsReport@gmail.com. Of course, that information will be in the description below, as well as all of our social media channels and our website link. Also, the cyclical nature of sports now, which everything means everything is year round now. I mean, you can't escape it that, you're going to get points of interest and news and notes from all sports, even if that sport is not exactly in play. And that holds true for high school and college basketball. For today's episode, I wanted to talk about the transfer portal. And of course, two great Delaware high school girls basketball players of note in recent years hit the portal this week. Lauren Park Lane from Seton Hall is going to use her COVID year, possibly play elsewhere. And Berniah Mayo, of course, who has been a 3-year starter at the University of Massachusetts, Amherst, is in the portal. That might be a little bit more about, her coach, Tori Verdi, who was, one of the ones who recruited her to UMass. He took the Pitt job last week. So maybe Coach Verdi is taking some of his players to Pitt. Who knows? But the interesting thing about the portal as presently constructed is it's changed the face of college sports, not just college basketball, because the portal applies to whoever wants to use the portal. Doesn't matter if it's basketball, football, baseball, soccer, field hockey, fencing. I mean, if swimming, if you want to use the portal, you can use the portal. You can transfer out. And I think what we need to have a conversation about is how I guess you could call it player empowerment at the college level is happening, because what people don't understand, and I'm going to start with this caveat, and people are going to either be surprised by this. People are like, okay, Chris, I knew that already, because a lot of y'all are parents of athletes or are athletes who are looking to be recruited yourselves. One thing people don't understand about NCAA Division I and Division II scholarships, because there's no scholarships in Division III. Scholarships, athletic scholarships, are a year-to-year thing. That means a coach can renew or a coach can not renew, which basically means when you see players get dismissed from teams, that's basically what it is for one reason or another. Maybe it's they'll usually say it's undisclosed reasons. If it's something like, well, I want to bring my kind of player or athlete in for this spot on the team, and the person that was in that spot just doesn't fill that role anymore. Other times they'll say it's conduct detrimental to the team for one reason or another. So that's important to note when we talk about, the transfer portal and how some people find the transfer portal to be not a good look. But scholarships are year to year. So you can get a scholarship, absolutely, get a scholarship to a D1 or D2 school and be cool for that first year, that second year, or even that third year. But if a coach or, a athletic program feels like, well, that scholarship could be better used somewhere else or with someone else, then you're at the mercy of that program and that coach. So I get why some people seem to feel like the portal is some sort of issue when it's always been like that, it's a year-to-year thing. It's not anything brand new that a kid or a player may lose a scholarship for one reason or another and then have to go find somewhere to play, go find some money or find somewhere else to play. Now it's just that players are able to strike while the iron is hot, so to speak. And that part of it is going to lead to some very interesting situations coming down the line, because I know Haley Van Lith of Louisville on the major college girl side just announced her intentions to hit the portal, and she's on the do not contact list. If you're not familiar with the transfer portal works like this. If you are an athlete who wants to transfer out, you can enter your name into the portal, which means that you are looking to head somewhere else. And you can either be on the contact list, which means coaches and recruiters and what's the other positions I'm looking for? Player development folks, they can all reach out to you. Or if you're on the do not contact list, then that means you already have decided where you are going and you have worked out an agreement with that coach and that program and that university. So the transfer portal is basically college free agency. That's what it is. And for people who don't understand why college sports has, enacted this, it's because, freedom of choice now. We've already seen what the NIL thing has brought, that players can finally make money off of their name, image, and likeness, which of course is what NIL stands for. Name, image, and likeness. You couldn't do that before. And a big shout out goes to UCLA legend and former, did he play for anybody else other than the Nets? I can't remember. But I'll just say he was a New Jersey Net at the time, Ed O'Bannon. Because Ed O'Bannon brought a lawsuit against EA Sports for a college basketball game because none of the players would be able to make money off of their name, image, and likeness being in a college video game. So that went to the Supreme Court, and that decision worked out in Ed O'Bannon's favor. And so college sports, NCAA for the most part figured out, okay, since we can't, legally keep these kids from making money anymore, might as well come up with something to kind of massage the problem, if you will. Shout out to the late great American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. That's where that came from, if you will. So they came up with the NIL thing, and now you have kids who can be sponsored by different businesses, different restaurants. And the thing that I find interesting for the women's game is that I'm genuinely shocked that now that a lot of these young ladies, they play with their nails, they play with their hair, they play with the makeup on. I mean, and they don't miss a beat. Like, it's the most incredible thing. And none of these major beauty brands have reached out to these young ladies. I'm like, y'all are really missing the boat on this. But anyway, that's what the NIL is. College kids that are athletes who have a following, who have that have a following, that have a social media presence, that have personality, that have charm, that have sellability. Now they can make money, being sponsors for things like, car insurance or car dealerships or restaurants or whatever. You name it, if it's legal and it's not morally bankrupt, they can do it. And those two things, the NIL agreement and the portal, have opened up a floodgate of activity as far as like what these kids can do and where they want to do it. So that to me it's not a problem with me, because in this economy and in this world of capitalism, we all have to make money to live. I have to make money to live. You watching and listening have to make money to live, and the kids do too. And college isn't cheap. That's the one thing, and I think it's important that while we're talking about the portal and scholarships, I think it's important from a local standpoint as far as Delaware high school athletes go. You want to go where you fit the best. And I'm not just talking from a basketball standpoint. I'm talking about every single sport. So this is definitely going to be on the DelHS hashtag on Twitter and maybe Instagram if I decide to edit this. I really don't feel like editing, honestly. That's why I never really do like the little smaller clips that I can post on Instagram and Twitter. I just don't feel like editing after talking for 30 minutes. But if I need to do that, then that's what I'll end up doing. But it's important that you go where the best fit is and that you can get the most money from somebody for your education. Because what people don't understand or really fail to realize is that college is expensive. And this whole student loan thing, try as President Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. might, that student forgiveness thing is just not happening right now because of, some other folks, being haters, being, miserable and just wanting to be greedy. So get the most money for school that you can. That may not be at a D1. That may not be at a D2. It can be at a D3 or an NAIA school, because while D3 and NAIA doesn't offer traditional scholarships, they still offer a boatload of help in terms of like Pell Grants and different grants, that can alleviate the cost of college. So go where you can play. And also shout out to my guy, Mr. Curtis Watkins, who writes for DE Preps and Rivals, has been on this beat longer than some of y'all have been alive, quite frankly. Those of us who know Mr. Curtis know. He's always told me, because this is back when I was working at Claymont Library, and Mr. Curtis used to come in and chat with me all the time. He would say, just because your child gets a D1 scholarship doesn't mean they're going to play. And he's right. I mean, yeah, it's nice to be seen by Villanova, Temple, Towson, William and Mary, Rutgers, whoever, anybody on the East Coast that's a D1 school. It's cool. Delaware State even. It's cool to be seen. It's cool to get those offers, that interest, but you should always go where you are going to have the best chance to see the floor or the court or the field or whatever. And whoever is going to pay the most for you to get paid to come to their school. So that's another thing I want to put out there. Be sure that you go where you fit the best in terms of the coach's scheme, the game plan, your talents, your abilities, how this coach likes to play, how the team likes to play, and who can give you the most money. So you ain't out here getting these student loan notices from Navient and other banks that are just like, hey, you haven't paid this much. And if anybody from Navient is watching, stop sending that stuff to my apartment because I ain't paying. I'm just not. I don't have it. Sorry. Not too much I can do about that. I mean, it's like Life Jennings said on one of his songs, if you didn't want me to use it, you shouldn't have gave it to me. Hey. So yes, it's very important that you go where you fit the best and that you can get the most money for your education. That's what it boils down to, pretty much. And coming back to the portal, which was the important thing about this, because I wanted to talk about what that might look like, because LP Lauren Park had a stellar, outstanding 4-year career at Seton Hall. Like she's the team's all-time leader in assists and steals, I believe, and she's up there in points and free throw percentage and 3-pointers made and all of that stuff. Like, she has had a career that most players at any level would envy. And she sees an opportunity because I think, and I give her a ton of credit for that, because this year's WNBA draft is stacked to the rafters, Jack. Like, people forget that there's only 12 WNBA teams. 12. Doce, if you speak Spanish. 12. Which means there's only about 140 spots for 12, on 12 teams. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of draft eligible women's college basketball players. So we're talking about, we talk about the NBA being like, a 1 in a million chance. The WNBA is like 1 in 4 or 5 million. So Lauren is smart to be able to say, okay, I got this COVID year. I've done everything I can do at Seton Hall. Let me go look for a place where I can develop even further and make myself better for the 2024 draft. Because the 2024 draft is not going to be as packed as 2023. It's still going to be packed. Because, Caitlin Clark's coming out. Helly Van Lith. I forget who else is in 2024 eligible. It'll come to me probably after I finish recording. But those are the two big names off the bat, Caitlin Clark and Helly Van Lith. So those are the ones that, people are going to be looking out for. And then, of course, there are a ton of others on the Power 5 level that are going to be 2024 eligible. So, you go where you have the best fit and you go where you can shine. And LP shined at Seton Hall because people were foolish enough to overlook her because of her height. And it's like, there's got to be at least 100 D1 coaches like kicking themselves right now. Well, now you got another chance to get her. Shout out to LP. Hope she goes where she has the best fit. Same for Bernaya Mayo. She has been a 3-year starter at 3-year starter at UMass. She graduated from St. Elizabeth, but she's been a 3-year starter at UMass. She's 25 points away from the 1,000-point career mark. And once again, 1,000 points at any level, high school or college, is nothing to sneeze at. That means you have to be available, you have to be consistent, you have to be durable, and you have to have some skill, because you can't just score 1,000 points by accident. I don't care who you are. It doesn't matter. You have to have some talent to be able to put 1,000 points on the board in high school and college. So, and this is a player, Bernaya, she can, she plays point, she can rebound, she defends, of course, she can score. And of course, her coach who recruited her is now at the University of Pitt. Does Bernaya follow him to Pitt? We'll have to stay tuned and find out. But I just wanted to, talk about the portal and scholarships and let people know that, especially our high school kids that are watching all of this unfold, because the portal has messed up. I think that's the downside, that the portal has messed up so much in terms of recruitment, because you always have to look over your shoulder for, if you're a high school senior who is being watched by, let's just say, like a Delaware State or a Towson or a Mount St. Mary's, a Rutgers, a Millersville, just like a high level D2 or mid major D1 or even a major D1, a Power 5 D1. You have to always be mindful that there is a disenchanted underclassman or someone using their COVID year lurking around the corner that could possibly throw a wrench in your recruitment. And that's probably why some people are so upset about it, because it's like, wow, the high school kids aren't going to have their fair shot anymore. They'll still have shots. I mean, they may not be as plentiful, but that's why finding the best fit is the most important. Because if you lock in on one particular program, if you have your heart set on, okay, I want to be a Villanova Wildcat, I want to be a Temple Owl, I want to be a LaSalle Explorer, I want to be a Drexel Dragon, I want to be a Delaware Bluehead, I want to be a Towson Tiger or a West Virginia Mountaineer. And all of a sudden, this kid from a Power 5 who has either been asked to leave or wants to leave is like, okay, I'm going here. And this coach sees this player as, keep it a buck, better than you. Then where do you go from here? That is important. That's why for you parents of kids who are being recruited now, even if you're a senior, if you're a junior, if you're a sophomore, first year player, do your due diligence. It's very important to be able to look at everything that's been presented to you, all the information, all the, scouting and game planning, everything that this university offers, not just from an athletic standpoint, but from an academic standpoint, because that's, of course, the reason that you're really going to college is that you can get an education so you can come out real world ready. Because there are only so many professional sports opportunities in various sports. Like the NCAA even says, most of the people that play NCAA athletics are going to go pro in something else. And there's nothing wrong with that, because if you can get somebody to pay for at least, I'll say, half of your schooling, that is a great thing. If you get somebody to pay for more than half of your schooling, then you're doing quite well for yourself. So that means you can come out, with minimal debt, not stressing about, okay, this isn't going to work out for me because I played this sport. There's no such thing as like a professional, field hockey league. There's not a professional. There's professional beach volleyball, but there's not a professional volleyball league. Softball leagues are still fleeting. There is professional soccer. I mean, professional wrestling. There's a marked difference between high school and college wrestling and professional wrestling. As we know it. Those of us who are WWE, AEW fans, TNA fans, Ring of Honor fans, New Japan, we know that wrestling and the wrestling that we've seen on the high school and college level are two totally different things. Yes. So WrestleMania was great last weekend, by the way. If anybody watched WrestleMania, leave some thoughts in the comments if you watch WrestleMania, what you think about it. I thought it was a great show. I would have had Cody Rhodes beat Roman, but I guess, that's not how Cody wants to finish the story. So I guess we'll find out how that goes. Okay, got off topic, but yes, there aren't that many professional leagues out there where you can just, put your name in a hat for a draft and say, okay, I'm going to be able to, make a living playing field hockey or running track or wrestling or, fencing or gymnastics. You got to make a living. And, that's the important part of having, that college degree in your back pocket. As we always used to say, as our parents used to say, have something to fall back on. And falling back on a degree, while it's not a guarantee, it definitely helps. It absolutely makes you more marketable to employers. It definitely gives you a skill set that can help you survive this capitalistic world. So that's the big thing. Go where you can play if that's what you want. If you love your sport, go where you can get the most enjoyment out of it, the most playing time out of it, and go where somebody's going to pay the most for you to come to their school. That's what you have to be thinking about. And for parents, you have to let your kids make decisions. I know that you feel like, since you raised them, in the case of women, you've carried these kids. In the case of fathers, you have mentored these kids. I get it, but they have to be able to stand on their own too and make their own decisions. So don't lock your kid into something that they're not comfortable with. You may want your kid to go to West Virginia or North Carolina or Miami or Connecticut or Ohio State. But the reality is there are only a few kids in the United States of America that are Ohio State ready, that are North Carolina ready, that are Michigan ready, that are Stanford ready, that are Duke ready, that are UConn ready. It's a small select field, and that's the way it is. But your kid can absolutely be Delaware State ready or Furman ready or Charleston ready or Towson ready or Howard University ready. I mean, there's no problem with any of that. They can also be Millersville ready, Westchester ready. There are options, many and plenty. There are plenty of athletic universities out there that you can go and play and have a successful career and get an education that doesn't, have you saying things like you're not just going to pay the student loan people. But I don't care, man. I said what I said. Who's going to check me? But the most important, again, as far as the scholarship thing goes, go where you can play and go where you can get the most money for your education. As far as the portal goes, it is, it's like it's the way it is. You find a fit that's best for you, even if it's after the fact. And that's another thing. I mean, I've already, said my piece about, what high school recruits can do to kind of sort of just take advantage of the opportunities they're given. But if you're a college player and you're thinking about the portal, think long and hard, because there's a lot of competition out there. I think at last check, there were about 2,000 athletes across various sports. I think that was just for basketball. I think it was like 1,980. Either way, it's a lot of athletes in the portal. So you have to, you're up against some stiff competition in a lot of cases. If you're thinking about entering the portal, you have to account for this player being taller than you, this player being, heavier and stronger than you, this player being faster than you, this player being in all conference where they were coming from, this player possibly getting professional looks where they came from. So there's a lot that you have to take into account if you plan on entering the portal. Like, it's definitely something you want to do the most research on, find out who else is in the portal with you, because you can do that easily because these kids announce their moves regularly. I mean, you can just look across Instagram and see, a neat little graphic about, I've had fun here. This has been great. I want to thank my coaches. I want to thank my teammates. But with all of that said, I am entering the transfer portal. You can find that on Instagram like that. So just be mindful of that. Find out who your competition is. Find out who has openings. Find out where the best fit is for you. And if the school you are trying to transfer out of is the best fit, there's no shame in going back to your coach if they'll still have you and say, you know what? I saw what was out there, and bud, I don't want to be out there. I'm fine here. And the coach will be like, cool. So let's work on, how we can, make this work. And that's how you do it. So just wanted to talk about that this week, because I felt like when I saw LP and Benaya hit the portal, I was like, that's something I could talk about on Holding Court. So that was, a godsend. I mean, maybe not for the programs that they're portaling out of, but for the purposes of this podcast, that was a pretty good sign to say, okay, now I can, talk about things that are still relevant to high school sports, that are relevant to basketball, and that people can digest in bits and pieces, say, okay, now I know what the portal is about. Now I know what scholarships are about. Now I know what this whole thing is about and how I can, as an athlete, move forward, as the parent of an athlete, help my kid move forward. So that was all I had for y'all this week. Thank y'all for watching Holding Court. If you took anything from this, make your decision, make the best decision for you. And if you are prepared for everything that comes with it. So if you're an athlete that is in high school now looking to be recruited, take stock of the landscape, because it is massive. Like, there is so much that you can look at out here and say, now where do I fit into all of this? If you're an athlete that's in the portal, the portal. What is the portal? What is the portal? The portal. If you're an athlete that's in the portal, you can look out here and say, where can I go that I can fit the best? And if there isn't such a place that exists, how do I get back into the fold where I am? That's what you can take from this. So remember, scholarships are a yearly thing. They're not guaranteed. The portal, it's a lot of competition out here. The scholarships, the offers, they're nice, but a great fit is better, regardless of what sport you are, what sport you play, what athlete you are, what kind of athlete you are, what sport you play. Find the best fit, stick with it as long as you can, and if you have to get out, make sure you get out to somewhere where you can have a better situation than the situation that you're leaving. And that will do it for this edition of Home Court. Greatly thank y'all for checking us out this week. Once again, everything from our social media channels to our website link to our contact info in the description below. Thank y'all for your time. Not sure what we're going to talk about next week. Maybe I'll be lucky enough to have a guest on. I probably need to start reaching out to folks and say, hey, would you like to come on Holding Court to talk with me about basketball? That might work better. So once again, thank y'all for watching this edition of Holding Court. Till the next time we speak, and I see y'all in these gyms and these rec centers for AAU and all of that, take care of yourselves. Peace out.